There are 5 ways a friendship changes when one person starts getting rich, and only one of them is obvious. The other 4 happen so quietly that most people mistake them for something else entirely. Bad luck, drifting apart, growing up. They aren't. They're a pattern. The same pattern every time. Because nobody tells you that getting rich quietly ends more friendships than getting poor ever could. When money leaves, people feel sorry for you. When money arrives, something colder happens. And it happens so slowly you'll blame yourself for noticing. The friendships don't break. They reorganize. And most people never understand the rules until they're already standing on the other side of them. So let's go through all 5, starting with the one you can actually see coming. The first change. The discount expectation. This is the obvious one. And it arrives first because it's the easiest to trigger. The moment people believe you have money, a quiet new assumption attaches itself to everything you do. You're expected to reach for the check. You're expected to drive. You're expected to be fine with the expensive restaurant, the last-minute trip, the loan that never quite gets mentioned again. What makes this change different from all the others is that it doesn't feel like resentment at first. It feels like generosity being requested politely. Nobody demands anything. The expectation simply appears in the air, and the first time you don't meet it, you feel it land. You pick up one dinner and it's a nice gesture. You pick up the 4th and it's no longer a gesture. It's the rate. The people around you recalibrate to your new baseline faster than you do, and the version of you that used to split a bill evenly quietly stops existing in their minds. What was once a kindness becomes an expectation. And an expectation, once set, is almost impossible to lower without becoming the villain. The discount expectation is survivable. It's mostly annoying rather than painful, but it's the first crack, and it teaches you something uncomfortable that the next 4 changes will confirm. The money didn't just change your account, it changed the math other people are quietly running about you. The second change, the quiet scorekeeper. Now it gets subtler because this one lives entirely inside someone else's head, and you almost never get to hear it. The quiet scorekeeper is the friend who starts measuring. Every time something good happens to you, a small tally moves somewhere they'll never show you. They're happy for you, mostly, genuinely, on the surface. But underneath it, a comparison has switched on that used to be dormant, and it can't switch off. What separates this change from simple envy is that it doesn't look like envy. It looks like distance. The scorekeeper doesn't insult you. They just get a little quieter when you talk about work. They stop asking how things are going because the answer keeps being good, and each good answer costs them something. You mention a win, and there's a half-second pause before the congratulations that wasn't there 2 years ago. 2 friends start at the same place. One pulls ahead. And nothing is ever said out loud, but the friendship develops a temperature it never had before. A faint coolness that shows up only around certain topics. You learn which topics. You start editing yourself. You mention the promotion, but not the size of it. You mention the trip, but not the hotel. You begin quietly making yourself smaller to keep the friendship the same size. And it works, for a while. The tragedy of the quiet scorekeeper is that they were often a real friend. And in most other ways, they still are. The comparison isn't a character flaw. It's a reflex. And it's a reflex most people can't admit they have, which is exactly why it's never discussed and almost never survived intact. The third change, the disappearing peer. This is the one that hurts because it takes the friend you'd have bet on. The disappearing peer isn't jealous and isn't keeping score. They simply feel, correctly or not, that the gap has become too wide to stand in comfortably. Your life now involves decisions they don't have to make and problems they'd love to have, and every time you talk, the distance is quietly reintroduced whether either of you mentions it or not. What makes this change so painful is that there's no villain in it at all. Nobody did anything wrong. The disappearing peer pulls back not out of resentment but out of a kind of self-protection, a sense that they no longer quite belong in your story and would rather leave quietly than be slowly left behind. They stop initiating. They're always happy to hear from you, warm every time, but the warmth is now something you have to reach for rather than something that arrives on its own. And here's the part that catches people completely off guard. The disappearing peer is often the friend you were closest to, precisely because closeness was built on being equals. And the equality is the thing that changed. The friendships that survive a gap in money are frequently the ones that were never built on sameness in the first place. The ones built on being at the exact same stage tend to be the most fragile the moment that stage stops being shared. You'll spend a year assuming they're busy. Then you'll realize it was never about being busy. It was about a distance neither of you knew how to name, so you both just called it life getting in the way. The fourth change, the sudden ally. Now the direction reverses, because for every friend who drifts away, a new kind of person arrives. And this one comes toward you. The sudden ally is the friendship that appears after the money does. Warm, attentive, genuinely enjoyable to be around, and available in a way your older friends increasingly aren't. What makes the sudden ally so difficult to read is that they're rarely a con artist. They're not scheming. They just would not be here if the circumstances were different, and neither of you will ever say that out loud. The hard part isn't spotting the obvious opportunist. Those are easy. The hard part is the ally who genuinely likes you and would still evaporate the moment the money did. The friendship is real in every visible way. It's just conditional in one invisible one. And the condition never comes up until the day it's tested, which is usually the exact day you most need it not to be. Proximity feels identical to loyalty right up until the moment it's asked to cost something. Everyone gets the ally who shows up for the good version of your life, only some people find out eventually who was actually there for the person underneath it. And you rarely find out on a good day. You find out on the worst one when the thing that attracted them is briefly gone, and you get to see who's still standing in the room. The sudden ally isn't the enemy. Most of them are perfectly decent people. But learning to tell the difference between someone who likes your life and someone who likes you is one of the most expensive lessons money quietly hands you, and almost nobody is taught to look for it before they need the answer. And finally, the fifth change, which might be the most surprising of all, the one who stays. After the expectations, the scorekeeping, the disappearing, and the arriving, there's a small number of people who do something remarkable by doing absolutely nothing. They don't change. They treat you exactly the way they treated you when you had nothing. They still make fun of you the same way. They still tell you when you're wrong. They still expect you to show up as a person rather than a resource, and they're the only ones who never once recalculated the math when the money arrived. What makes the one who stays so rare is that their friendship was never attached to your circumstances in the first place, which means your circumstances changing had nothing to hold on to. They didn't pass a test because they never knew they were being tested. They were simply friends with you, the actual you, the whole time, and the money was never a variable in the equation for them. You will not have many of these. Almost nobody does. If you can count them on one hand, you're doing extraordinarily well, and most people finish their whole lives with fewer than that. But they are the entire point. And here is the strange gift buried inside all of this. Getting rich is one of the few things that will ever show you, with total clarity, which of these people you actually had, because nothing else applies the pressure evenly enough to sort them. The one who stays was there before. They'll be there after. The money simply made them visible. So the truth about how your friends change as you get rich is that most of them don't, really. The money doesn't create these categories. It just reveals which one each person was in the entire time. Quietly, long before anyone had the language for it. The discount expectation was always going to want something. The scorekeeper was always going to compare. The peer was always standing on shared ground. The ally was always there for the circumstances. And the one who stays was always simply there for you. The money changed nothing about who they were. It only turned the lights on. Which means the real question was never how your friends change as you get rich. It's who they were before you could afford to find out. And the uncomfortable part is that you're running the exact same math on someone else right now, probably without knowing it either. If you made it this far, you're the kind of person this channel is for. Subscribe. See you in the next video.